In 1969, a lot of people said it would be impossible to go to the moon one day, and some people even still say it was. This video is about our impossible week in New York, the improbabilities that came with it, the things you think of and then immediately say, oh, that's probably never gonna work. Our impossible stories involve these two guys. If you spend a little time on the internet, you probably know Gary Vaynerchuk and Casey Neistat. This video is about how two of our chairs ended up in each one of their offices. When we delivered the chair to Casey, we had a little video to explain who we are and what we do. I'll just play a little part from that right now. Hey Casey, what you have in front of you is the casino wing. It's modeled after Mickey Mouse, which is probably why it's called the wing. You're probably wondering how and why it got into your office. Well, that's what this video is about. The journey of this thing started 3,757 miles from where you are right now, right here in Cologne, Germany. About 4 weeks ago, we put it in a shipping container and it was off across the pond. But the real story begins way before that. 3 years ago, Jonas Brenig and Paul Jonas founded Revive Interior. It all started with reselling one $100 sofa from Craigslist, and the idea was born. Which is crazy if you think about where we ended up now, but more about that later. In case you haven't noticed, Jonas is his last name and his first name. It's confusing, I know. Today, almost 20 people work on the Revive Interior vision of becoming the brand for used designer furniture. That's me, by the way. But the goal isn't only to give back to the environment by reviving what already exists. Also, 10% of the yearly earnings are donated to charitable causes. And a couple of months ago, orders from New York started coming in. And finally, there were enough to fill our first sea container to New York. Of course, being as they are, Jonas and Paul wanted to deliver the first shipment by themselves. Crazy ideas are like a household tradition here, so it wasn't much of a surprise when they came to me and said, we'll try to deliver something to Casey. But Jonas broke a bone last minute, which sucks. But, well, that's the story of how this thing got here. We hope you enjoy it, and, well, I promised Paul that I would buy him a steak if we got to meet you. I'm sure he would be very happy about that. So, that was our impossible plan, to just roll up to Casey's office and leave the chair there. Because, well, obviously, we weren't just gonna go to New York to deliver stuff, have meetings, sit on the Seamer system or under some flags and just go home again. No, we were seeking a challenge. Something cool to do while we were there. Something like what Paul had done a couple of years ago, when he hitchhiked from Vancouver to New York without any money, to be on Gary's Ask GaryVee
show. So tall.
Good to see you again.
So tall.
Way too tall.
No, I love it. Not way too tall. I love it. Sit.
The strangest thing was I was meeting a guy who was in prison for attempted murder for 16 years. And I was in his...
Hold on. You should write a book.
So that's why Gary was getting the flying carpet. You would think that getting it to him would be easy because of what Paul did back then, but not at Hudson Yards, where Gary's office is located. The first time, we immediately got held up at the door and had to leave the chair behind. We were sent to get visitors passes, which, as we found out, you can only get with a designated appointment. Of course, we didn't have that.
Not a good day.
But later that day, we got an email from Gary's team, and we were in the calendar for the next day.
What's up, brother?
What's up, brother? How you been?
Nice to meet you, man.
Good to see you.
Good to see you again. I brought you a gift, man.
Dude, what episode of GaryVee was that? It was a good one, like 13?
I know it was like Ask GaryVee 182.
Sorry, I'm running so late.
No problem. I'm gonna open it like super quick to you. I'm gonna tell you a story about it.
Go ahead.
Like I told you about my startup in Germany. You remember? Like over the last 3 years, we built it like from 0 to 3 million in sales. And we just like got orders coming in from the US. And we made we filled a sea container and we shipped furniture to US customers. And I thought I'm gonna just bring this chair to you as a gift. I don't know where you're gonna put it.
We're gonna put it somewhere fucking awesome.
It's a special piece, yeah, it's cool. It's called Flying Carpet because it floats.
I'm proud of you, man. It's good to see you. You look great.
Thanks, man.
Same.
Interessanter Kerl. Der Typ ist crazy. Ist geil, so eine große, funktionierende Firma zu sehen, die sehr neu gemacht ist. Und nicht irgendwie so ein alteingesessenes großes Ding, was nicht wirklich interessant ist, aber eine neue Art von Firma, junges Team, wie eine Firma sein sollte, ein cooles Teil. 3 Leute, die hier sind, die in seinem Team sind, die Bock haben zu sein, sich gerade Sushi bestellen und hier sein wollen. Keiner sitzt hinter denen und sagt, ey, ihr müsst hier sein und ihr müsst irgendwas machen. sondern die haben Bock und wollen. Das ist super interessant, wie das gebaut ist. Deswegen macht es Bock, einfach rumzusitzen und rumzuschauen. Das ist cool.
Now to the impossible story that we're gonna try this time. Paul and I both love watching Casey's videos. Sometimes we do it on lunch break, but getting the chair to him was gonna be even more difficult. We hoped that the video was gonna create enough context to explain why we were doing what we were doing. So we put it on a USB stick that came with the chair. After making an actual delivery across the street on Broadway, we made a little sign in the supermarket next door.
Thanks man, perfect. You're saving our ass.
Somebody let us in the building, and we got kicked out. Lucky for us though, we got kicked out by Patrick, who's Casey's studio manager. His first words were, "Guys, this is just weird." Well, he was kind of right. But on the way down the elevator, Paul somehow convinced him that we weren't serial killers and promised to give the USB stick to Casey and have him watch the video. And he also let us put the chair in the studio next door. Little did we know that that very same space would be announced as the office for Casey's new project the very next day. The tables had turned. At least that's what we thought. So the days passed by and we heard nothing. And our last day came. One thing that had become kind of a tradition was going to Five Guys for breakfast every morning. And on Sunday, just 5 hours before our flight back home, we wanted to go one last time. But apparently Five Guys doesn't open until 11, and it was 10:30. So we were sitting on the street waiting, when suddenly...
Schneller lernen, ich will's lesen. Sind wir soweit? Ja. Wir sitzen gerade vor Five Guys, da ist Five Guys. Und wir wollen uns einfach nur einen dicken Burger reinpfeifen. Ich gucke auf mein Handy und refreshe wahrscheinlich zum 100. Mal meine E-Mails. Und hier ist eine E-Mail von Casey. Unser Betreff an ihn war, "What our chair is doing in your new 368 Studio." Und ich öffne jetzt die E-Mail. Ich lese vor. "This video is incredible. You guys are awesome." That's it, but it's great. Ich glaube, ich schreibe ihm einfach, ey, wir sind noch bis 17 Uhr in der Stadt, können wir kurz Hi sagen, komm. Would be great.
Now, I know what you're thinking. Is this the great beginning of Paul getting a steak? Well, I'm gonna have to disappoint you. Casey didn't answer until we had already boarded our plane, so no steaks for Paul. I guess if you put it like that, we didn't really do the impossible. We just came really, really close. But honestly, at the end, this wasn't just about meeting Casey or Gary. It was about the journey, waiting in the lobby, just hoping that an email would come in. It was about Patrick kicking us out and still taking the USB stick to Casey, freaking out in front of Five Guys and just, you know, making these memories. I guess if you shoot for the moon, sometimes you still just make it to the stars. But that's okay, because the journey was what really brought all the fun. And you know what? There will be a next time.